This matrix that we live in is three-layered, it's tri-layered. There's a surface level, an underworld level, and a higher level. Now, we've been predisposed to want the higher level. We want to go to the higher level. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, especially with what's associated with the higher level: peace, paradise. But instead, we're in this surface reality where we can experience a little bit of both, of the higher realm and the lower realm. We can experience both right here on the surface. Now, the surface is a great starting point. It's right in the middle, what some would even call purgatory, according to some schools of thought. Yes, a purgatory, so to speak, a purgatorious existence. What do you see in the word purgatory? You see the root word purge, to cleanse, to detox from something. So you have society doing this detoxing from the surface, and forces, according to their etheric signatures, are being pulled up or pulled down. Now, if you want to go through the stages of mental alchemy and conquering the worlds, then here's what you do. You start on the surface, because that's where you are. Start to learn your environment, master your environment, learn how to deal with the people in a very general sense, a very civil sense, a very mundane sense. Do this peacefully, do this respectfully for long enough, and you'll start to see little introductions to what is called the underworld. Now, the underworld is really, it's in this world. It's not literally underneath your feet, although on some levels it does become under your feet when you consider underworld operations like El Chapo, and how he had a tunnel that was literally underground when it came to his underworld operation. So yes, there's a certain part of this that goes underground, and especially if you make certain mistakes, you'll get left underground in the underworld. So in the underworld, you have to understand that when you're first stepping in, it's going to come with a little bit of irony. There's going to be double meanings, innuendo, double speak, symbolic things, messages that are meant only for you, what they will call a quaint word that causes the cliff off of Lilith to open. So there's this whole world where everything on the surface is being seduced by more advanced forces, and your introduction to this always happens in the surface world. So there will always be something or someone on the surface world that will introduce you to the underworld, because the conquering of the underworld is what gives you access to the higher world. You don't go from surface world to higher to lower. You don't go from surface world to higher to stay. You don't go from higher world down to surface world, etc. But you go from surface to below, to the underworld, and then to the overworld. So when the person opportunity presents itself, you have to go into the underworld with an inverted sense of integrity, not a perverted sense of integrity, but an inverted sense of integrity. Integrity defined on the surface, whether it be associated to a colloquialism or not, is usually teamwork, synergy, everybody getting together, everybody working together in harmony, synergy and union, unified thought, unified consciousness, togetherness, unity, community. But in the underworld, those ethics are inverted. So instead of community, it's more about isolation, individualism. It's just inverted. Instead of everything being looked at from an outer lens and you're looking at everybody else, you're more so introspective and more focused on the self-mastery, acquisition for yourself. These energies that pertain to the upgrading of the self is commonly and sometimes uncommonly referred to as black magic, with a CK, not with a C, not magic tricks pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but real manipulation of true universal forces to your benefit. Black magic to your benefit. If it's white magic, so to speak, it's to other people's benefit. But this underworld that you get introduced to just like all underworld operations, there's this individuality and self-preservation that comes with an inherent lack of trust. The bestie that's put beside you is the one that's going to cross you a lot of times in the underworld. Whereas on the surface world, they're your ace, boom, coon. They're ready to ride with you all the way to the end, ride with you until the wheels fall off. But in the underworld, this is not necessarily the case. Your ace might be willing to ride with you up to a certain extent and then drop you off. They might be willing to set you up in the beginning, because the undertone to underworld energy is desperation and appetite. Desperation and appetite dominate the underworld. Desperation and appetite together is a beast to be reckoned with. So you go into this understanding and knowing that the person, although they dwell close beside you, it might be a case where, yeah, your friends are close, but your enemies are being positioned even closer to you in proximity. What did Jesus say in the scriptures? Your enemies are being your own household. So he didn't come to bring peace. He said he came to bring a sword, and the sword is slicing. And the slicing is known as the making of a decision. You're making an incision, a decision, to chop something asunder, to choose either this or that. You're making a decision. So once you conquer these forces on the surface world and you're getting introduced to the underworld, that's the first thing you're going to understand, that a servitor, something like a servitor, can work against you, because they'll be like a mole. They'll be like Sharon Stone's character in Total Recall. They'll really be an agent sent up close. They'll send the mole to you at the beginning, the one who's going to snitch you on the team and rat out the whole outfit. That'll be the person that they link you up with first, depending on the levels of trust that you reside in regards to the underworld. So now you're getting into people's motives, people's hidden instincts. Now you're dealing with much higher forms of psychology. You're dealing with the manipulation of human behavior, the understanding of environment, how to manipulate the energies and really be a god. And then after that, the reward for having conquered the surface world and the underworld is what is called the higher worlds. So now you're pretty much sitting high on the hog. You're riding off into the sunset, right? You're in the higher worlds. You're dealing with the realm of the untouchables. And a lot of times we don't, as common people, we don't get a chance to experience what the untouchable realm is, because that is a whole nother layer of isolation in and of itself. Not everybody can hang with you at the top. Not everybody's in your tax bracket at that point when you're in the higher worlds. Not everybody has access to the same kind of resources. Not everybody is put in the same echelon. Not everybody has the same social circles. When you start getting into the higher worlds, the higher realms, after having conquered the social and the underworlds, the surface and the underworlds, now you're being given your reward for having made the choice of conquering both the surface and the underworld. So now the higher worlds is your reward. Now you become a demiurge. With this higher world does come another layer of responsibility, because now you have to function as a demiurge, as an idea, as an ideal, as a role model, right? As a spokesperson, as a representative, as a figurehead, as an egregore, as an archetype, as a personage, as a figurehead, as a god form. And if you see any discrepancies on the lower levels, then you take it upon your responsibility as the demiurge to step into the creation that you've influenced and do your revising and remixing. So again, this is Super T Sigma, walking you through the understanding of the triads between worlds, the trinity of existence: surface, underworld, and higher worlds. Super T Sigma. Stay wise, stay motivated. Peace.